People are always asking me, "What, Steve, how did you study for the LSAT?" And I tell them, yes, I got a 175, but it took me an entire year to get there, and at least half of it was a complete waste of time. So you don't want to do what I did. Yes, I can guide you on how to get there, but you don't want to follow my exact path. You want to learn from the lessons and the mistakes that I've made so you can avoid making them, and you can do it in less than half the time, as I should have been able to do. And of course, you don't want to copy my exact approach, regardless of how long it took me, because you're going to be the one taking the LSAT on test day. You've got to develop the skills for yourself. And yes, I can explain to you how to walk through any type of LSAT question from any exam. But the thing is, you're not really training to be able to solve that question. You want to develop the meta skill to allow you to solve all questions of a given type so that you'll be ready for whatever they throw at you on LSAT test day. LSAT lays deliberate traps for test takers who are blindly copying other people's techniques. And so they've increasingly added in curveball situations onto the LSAT. You see this most directly in the logic game section, but it shows up in other situations as well in both logical reasoning and reading comprehension. So you don't want to just blindly copy someone else's study plan. That may end up being completely counterproductive because you have your own way of thinking about the questions and you have your own areas of strength and weakness. And so you've got to develop a personalized plan of attack that fits your own learning style, your own abilities, to make sure that you maximize your potential on this exam. And yes, copying other people's techniques can get you somewhere. It'll get you at least into the 160s. But if you want to break into the 170s, you've got to take ownership of the process. So maybe when you're starting off, if you want to read LSAT prep textbooks and watch course lesson videos, you can do that. You can even look at explanations for prep test questions, but they're only going to help you up to a point. And you may find in some situations that different sources contradict each other. And regardless, they're not necessarily going to address the particular challenges and struggles that you're facing on the LSAT. This is where live support can come in, either in a live small group setting, like a classroom setting, or in a private one-on-one context. But aside from that, you also want to make sure that you are taking ownership of the process for yourself. What do I mean by this? What I mean here is that after you're hitting the 160s, put the explanations aside, put the message boards and forums aside. Instead, sit down, just you and the prep test questions with a notebook or a Google Dot or a notepad or an iPad, whatever, and start writing out your own explanations that articulate your thought process, how you were personally approaching the questions. Really sit down and struggle with this. It might not happen in 5-10 minutes. It could take as much as 30 minutes or more for a single logical reasoning question, but this could end up being the most valuable 30 minutes you spend in your LSAT prep that day. If you can articulate what was mistaken about your initial approach to the question, and later, upon reflection, what could you have done differently? What would you do differently if you were to approach the question again? That could give you the key insight that allows you to avoid making the same mistakes again. I personally learned a ton when I wrote my own explanations back when I was studying for the LSAT myself, and then later when I wrote my own explanations for over 1,000 official logical reasoning questions covering prep tests 46 through 65, going through all 5 answer choices, analyzing what was tempting about each of the wrong answer choices, but what ultimately makes it wrong, and why the right answer might have seemed unappealing to the average person, but what ultimately makes it correct. And so this was my meta-analysis of having worked with thousands of students covering these LSAT questions. Yours may not be as in-depth, but it will be personal to you, and that is what is ultimately the most important thing. So if you look at my explanations, don't feel like yours don't need to be as detailed or as structured, but they need to reflect the tricks and traps that you were personally uniquely prone to falling for, so that you can avoid making the same mistake again the next time you encounter a similar question of that type. It may appear different on the surface, but the underlying core reasoning may be similar, or the trick and trap may be similar in the choices, but this time you're going to avoid it. And if you'd like my help and my team's help embarking on this process, engaging in the Socratic review method, analyzing your thought processes, documenting it, and writing it down. We'd be glad to help you out if you're looking to score in the 170s. There are a variety of ways we could support you, whether it's through our live online classes via Zoom, our on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. You can check out the links below the video to find out more and to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. And in the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.